and hello. Today is Sunday, May 29th, and welcome to my Sunday seminar. This month, I'm talking to you about absentee balloting in Onondaga County and, of course, throughout New York State. This is actually a little bit delayed. Well, I was supposed to do this earlier in May, but then on May 12th, the New York State Supreme Court ordered a second primary, and that actually had a lot of ramifications when it came to absentee balloting. So we had to wait until we got guidance from the State Board of Elections and when we were going to and what elections were going to be held. And so finally, this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, I'm able to bring this Sunday seminar to you. So we will be going through not only how to do absentee balloting and who is eligible, but which elections are happening in which of the two primaries happening this summer, and of course, how to apply and how to get absentee ballots and the changing in absentee ballots that happen in Onondaga County, how we record them, how we canvass them, and how people interact with them, not only at home, but at the ballot box and at polling places on election day. So thank you very much and enjoy this presentation. And this month's Sunday seminar is how to vote by absentee in 2022. There are a lot of changes coming to New York absentee voting. And I go over in this seminar how to apply for and receive and vote by absentee, and how these changes are affecting not only that, but how we canvass or even record and even display those results by absentee ballots. So a little bit about absentee ballot voting. If you are unable to go to the polls in person, you can request a ballot to be sent to you via the mail or pick up in person. In New York, this is referred to as an absentee ballot. New York is an excuse-based absentee system, meaning you need to apply. You do need to apply for an absentee ballot. The no excuse option failed at the ballot box in 2021, so excuses are still required. However, those excuses have been relaxed because of COVID in 2022. Valid excuses in New York: absent from the county on election day, temporary illness or physical disability. This is what you use for COVID-19 related excuse. Permanent illness or physical disability. Duties related to the primary care of one or more individuals who are ill or physically disabled. Resident of a patient of a Veteran Health Administration hospital. Detention in jail, prison, awaiting trial, awaiting action by a grand jury, or in prison for a conviction of a crime or offense which was not a felony. Member of the United States military, that's called a military ballot. And risk of spread of pandemic disease for 2022. So the excuse that we've used for the last couple of years regarding COVID-19, that is actually still in effect. It was legislated this year and it will end at the end of 2022. So you can still use it as an excuse for voting by absentee this year in New York. And what you would do is use the temporary illness excuse that is on your application. So there are big changes coming to absentee voting for 2022. The major changes are coming to the absentee system, and these changes affect how you can apply, track, and cast your votes for absentee. Keep these changes in mind. Voters who are issued absentee ballots will no longer be able to cast a vote at the polls on the machine. Postage paid envelopes will be provided for applications and ballots starting in the August primary and general election. Absentees will be canvassed within 4 days of receipt by the Board of Elections. The Onondaga County Board of Elections will canvass on Tuesday and Fridays. Canvassing is open to the public, but there will be no more objections. This means the hordes of election lawyers that we've seen in past absentee elections will no longer be there. They cannot object to ballots. The ruling by the bipartisan boards of elections will be final on these absentees and will no longer have them be subject to extra scrutiny from outside forces. So the counting and results. We now canvass absentee ballots as they are returned, so results can be delivered on election night with early and election day votes. And this is how it works. When a voter is issued an absentee by the Board of Elections, their voter file is marked, and they will not be issued a machine ballot on early voting or election day. Absentee ballot envelopes are canvassed within 4 days of return by the Board of Elections by a bipartisan team of workers. They check for curable defects. We'll look at that a little later in this seminar. Ballots are removed from the envelopes and secured without being tabulated. Ballots will start to be scanned the day before the first day of early voting for all ballots received and canvassed in that time. A second round of scanning will begin after the close of polls on the last day of early voting for all ballots received and canvassed at that time. Ballots will be double checked to make sure no voter cast a vote during the early voting period. At 8 p.m. of election night, boards of elections will tabulate scans and prepare to release those results along with the early and election day results at 9 p.m. And a third round and final round of scanning will be done 7 days after election day for all affidavit, manual ballots, or absentees received after the close of early voting. Ballots will be double checked to make sure no vote cast a vote during the early voting or election day. So who is eligible to vote in a primary? Well, we have our 4 major parties in New York that have primaries: Democrats, Republicans, conservative, and working families. And in New York, primary elections are closed elections, meaning that only those enrolled in a party can vote. We have 2 different primaries in 2022, June and August, with different races at each. The primary races for June 28th, 2022 are governor, lieutenant governor, assembly, and local races. And the primary races for August 23rd, 2022 are members of Congress and state senate. The ballot in Onondaga County for June 28th, 2022 will contain Democratic and GOP choices for governor and lieutenant governor. There will also be party committee races for the town of Pohnpei. The ballot in Onondaga County for August 23rd, 2022 is expected to contain Democratic and GOP choices for members of Congress. We will know more by June 10th, 2022 of which races will be on the ballot, as that is the final day to be eligible and petitions to be submitted. So how do you apply for an absentee ballot? You can apply for an absentee ballot in a variety of ways in Onondaga County and New York. By utilizing our electronic absentee portal at onvote.net. And when we get into the demonstration portion of this program, I will demonstrate that in a little bit. By faxing your application to us at 315-435-8451. By going in person to Onondaga County Board of Elections, 1000 Erie Boulevard West, Syracuse, New York, 13204. By mailing a paper application to Onondaga County Board of Elections, 1000 Erie Boulevard West, Syracuse, New York, 13204. And by sending a letter to 1000 Erie Boulevard West, Syracuse, New York, 13204, or emailing absentee@ongov.net. The letter must contain the following information: name and date of the birth of the voter, the address where you are registered, an address where the ballot should be sent, and the reason for the request. So these are the ways to apply. I highly suggest using the portal. We get that information daily, and we process it. It's already in a form that is easy for us to process. And I do highly suggest using that and going right to onvote.net. It's just a couple clicks away, and it's very easy to apply. But a special note for applying for primary ballots in 2022. Because of the late edition of the August primary, the following guidance will be followed by boards of elections for voters applying for a primary absentee ballot. Eligible permanent absentee voters will get an absentee ballot issued to them for all 3 elections, regardless of when they apply to become an absentee voter. Paper absentee applications prior to May 12, 2022 that are marked primary election only will only get an absentee for the June primary and must reapply for August. Paper absentee applications after May 12, 2022 that are marked primary election only will get an absentee for both the June and August primaries. And the reason for that is on May 12th, 2022 is when the court issued the order for the second August primary. Before then, voters only knew about the June primary, so we can't assume that they wanted a ballot for the August primary if they applied on May 12th, 2022. So this is the guidance that has been given to us by the State Board of Election. The online portal only has the option for the June 28th, 2022, and applications marked primary only will only be for that primary. August primary option will be added shortly. Regardless of the method, if the date range option is enabled and the date encompasses both primaries, you'll get a ballot for both primaries. So if instead of selecting a primary election or primary election only, you put in the date range, whether it's a paper ballot or a portal, then in that date range is before June 28th and after August 23rd, we will issue a ballot for both of those elections. The general election is not yet on the portal, and we expect both the August primary and the general election options to be on the portal shortly. You can change your absentee status by contacting your Board of Elections before an absentee is issued, and that's usually 45 days before an election. So there are some deadlines to keep in mind. It's important to remember these deadlines in New York now more than ever. We're seeing an increased use of absentee ballots, and adherence to deadlines will help you get your ballot counted. So in June, the deadlines are you must apply and the application must be received by the Board of Elections by June 13th, 2022, for you to have a ballot be mailed to you. So that's 2 weeks before the election, 15 days now. It's a little different than last year. June 27th is the last day to apply for an absentee ballot in person at the Board of Elections. June 28th, 2022 is the last day to postmark an absentee ballot to be delivered by mail. And of course, on June 28th, 2022, 9 p.m. is the last day to deliver an in-person absentee ballot to any polling place or the Board of Elections in your county. It must be in your county for it to be guaranteed to count. And then of July 5th, 2022, the last day for a Board of Elections to receive an absentee ballot if properly postmarked. And for the August primary, it's the same timelines, but different dates. August 8th is the last day for an application to be received but via mail or via portal. August 22nd is the last day to apply in person. August 23rd is the last day to postmark an absentee ballot to be delivered by mail. And August 23rd is also the last day to deliver an in-person and absentee ballot to any polling place in the Board of Elections or in your county. And August 30th is the last day for a Board of Elections to receive an absentee ballot if properly postmarked. Now, it's important to remember that although it's 15 days before an election, that an application must be received by your county Board of Elections for us to guarantee that we will mail you out an absentee ballot. By the way, that's also the last day that the portal will be available. However, in Onondaga County, we have an internal policy to mail out absentee ballots as much as we can right up until the Saturday before the election. Now, we don't guarantee that we'll get it done because if there is a large increase and you didn't make that deadline, there is no guarantee in law for us to have to mail a ballot to you. So my advice is to apply today and make sure that your ballot is sent to you. Of course, when we get to the general election, these deadlines are the same, except for different dates. October 24th, 2022 is the last day for an application to be received. November 7th, 2022 is the last day to apply in person for an absentee ballot. November 8th, 2022, that's election day, last day to postmark an absentee ballot to be delivered by mail. November 8th, 2022, 9 p.m. is the last day to deliver in person an absentee to any polling place or board of elections in your county. And November 15th, 2022 is the last day for a board of elections to receive an absentee ballot if properly postmarked. So how do you return your absentee? Well, there are several ways you can return an absentee ballot once it is ready to be voted. Here are the ways to return. You can put it in the mail, ensuring it receives a postmark no later than election day. Postage paid returns start July 1st, 2022 for the August primary and general elections. So starting on July 1st, we will start including postage paid marks on our return envelopes for the August primary and the general election. It was supposed to be just for the general election, and the law that was passed started July 1st, but with the addition of the August primary, we will now have to pay for postage for the August primary as well. So starting after the June primary, you won't even have to pay for postage. All you have to do is fill out the ballot and put it in the mail. You can also bring it to the County Board of Elections no later than 9 p.m. of election day. And make sure, again, you bring it to your county. Don't bring it to a different county board. You can also bring it to an early voting polling site during their respective open dates and times. You can also bring it to a poll site in Onondaga County on election day. So it doesn't have to be your poll site that you normally vote at. It can be any poll site, and of course, any of our 10 early voting sites. And ballot applications and return ballot status will be able to be tracked online shortly. The changing and redistricting has delayed this a little bit. The state board is hopefully going to launch this slightly before the June primary that is coming up later this month. And you'll be able to track your application status, whether we mailed and issued a ballot to you, whether we received it back from you, and whether that ballot has been counted and deemed to be eligible, or a cure has been sent to you. That is going to be very vital, and we can't wait for the state board to launch that. And as soon as they do, I'll be sharing it with you on our social media networks. Now, the cure process. The Board of Elections has a bipartisan review of every ballot received, matching the signature and checking for deficiencies. If a ballot is deficient, in many cases, we will notify a voter to cure their ballot. This decision will be made during the canvassing process. So here are examples of reasons a ballot needs to be cured. They forgot to sign the oath envelope, or the signature doesn't match. Did not seal the oath envelope. The ballot was not put inside the oath envelope. Missing dates or other information. Cure affidavits must be sent back by election day or within 7 days of a notice by the Board of Elections before election day, or 5 days of notice by the Board of Elections after election day. So now we're going to go to my absentee demonstration. The first demonstration that I wanted to bring up is how to apply via the portal for boards of elections. So this is our website for the Board of Elections at onvote.net. You can see here it says click to apply your absentee ballot online. If you click on that, it'll bring you to our absentee voting page. Here you can open up and print absentee ballot applications for permanent disabled voters, military special voters, or even Spanish language voters right here. However, I'm going to do the electronic absentee portal, which is right here. This is the fastest way for us to process and get you out an absentee ballot. If you go to the portal, it brings you to the New York State Board of Elections portal, and you click on your county. I'm going to do myself, Onondaga, and I'm going to put in my last name, Zarni, and my first name, Dustin, and my date of birth, September 26, 1972. I'm going to be 50 this year, and my zip code, 13224, and hit search. Here it brings up the absentee ballot request. So I'm going to ask them to mail it to my residential address. And then I'm going to ask for the primary election for June 28th, 2022. Remember that you could do the date ranges if you want. And eventually the August primary will be on as another option on here, or the general election. But right now it's too early for those. I'm requesting in good faith an absentee ballot due to one of the reasons. I am going to use the temporary illness reason or physical disability because almost every person in New York State, in fact, every person in New York State is eligible to check this reason because of the risk of spread of pandemic disease through the end of 2022. I also want a ballot language. I get two in Onondaga County, English or Spanish. I'm going to put English. And I'm going to put my contact information in there because if there is a problem, I do want them to call me, and I'll even put my email. And then, of course, by checking this box, I can send to New York State BOE using my signature. I check that, and I hit collecting this box. I certify that I am registered to vote. After selecting this, I would hit submit. I'm not going to do that today because I am actually not eligible to do an absentee ballot in my personhood because I am an election worker. So I would do a special ballot, which is a slightly different than an absentee ballot. So I'm not going to actually hit submit. But if I did hit submit, you would see a screen come up that says that I am, that I have submitted the absentee ballot and that a ballot will be mailed shortly. So now I'm going to talk about what happens when you get your absentee ballot. I have an example here. This is an envelope that would be mailed from the Board of Elections. And in the envelope would be 3 items. When you open up your envelope, you will see that you have, your return envelope, your oath envelope, and of course, or called ballot envelope, and of course, the ballot itself. This is an example, a sample ballot of the June primary. And when you're filling out your ballot, you notice that it's folded. You're going to fill out the ovals and follow the instructions on the ballot. Once you're done with that, you're going to fold your absentee ballot and find your ballot envelope. On your ballot envelope, you are going to put the ballot inside and seal it. Yeah. Okay. And yes, you gotta lick it or use a sponge. That is the proper way to seal these envelopes. Now, on the back of the envelope, this oath envelope is very important. This is where you must sign your name. If you do not sign your name, we will not be able to process this envelope. This is how we check for fraud in New York State. And yes, we do. We check every signature against the voter signature on file. So it's important you sign your name and date the envelope right here. Now, if you are unable to sign your name because you have a disability or an infirmity, then you can mark an X here and have somebody witness you marking the X, and they put their name and address right here and sign it. And that allows us to know that somebody witnessed you signing your name, and we have their witness on file. And of course, all of these are affirmations. You then take the ballot envelope, put it in the return envelope. See, it says return envelope right there. Put it in there once again. Like it close. And if you're mailing this for the June primary, you do have to put a stamp there. For the August primary and general election, you will no longer need to stamp your envelope. You can simply place it in a mail receptacle and it'll come back to us. Make sure that, especially if you're getting close to election day, that you are going ahead and making sure that that ballot is going to be postmarked on election day. So you do that mostly by making sure that you're bringing it to a post office and asking them to make sure it gets stamped, or putting it into a receptacle several days ahead of election day, because they do collect those on almost every day But if you're doing it on election day or the day before, you want to make sure that the mail receptacle that you're putting it in is going to be collected before the end of election day. So those are the demonstrations that I had for you. And I'm going to share my screen one last time. And because if you need to visit us in person at the Board of Elections, you can do so by going to, you can also apply and cast your ballot right in our office. We have actually a new on-demand ballot system right at the front counter that will allow us to process your absentee ballot, give you the correct ballot, and you can even vote it in our office and then drop it in our receptacle in our office. You can visit the Board of Elections at 1000 Erie Boulevard West, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. And of course, if you have any questions, give us a call at 315-435-VOTE. Go to Facebook at OSBOFE and Twitter at OCBOE. And email is elections@ongov.net. And of course, you can go to onvote.net to find us right away at the county boards of elections. So thank you very much for coming to my Sunday seminar. I hope it was informative. I'll be displaying these slides and I'll display them again when we get closer to the August primary and the general election. That way you know everything that you need to know to cast absentee balloting in all of our elections here in 2022. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please share this as much as possible. And remember to go to DustinZarni.com and subscribe if you want free content and election news updates. It's always going to be free. I never take outside money for it. There will never be a subscription. It's a part of my voter education outreach as elections commissioner. And it's something that I pay for and do myself because I feel it's important for all of you to know all the information and how to cast your ballot. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye-bye.